Hello garden friends, Jersey Shore Lisa from MyNJGarden.com. I want to show you what's blooming today. We have Maxima rudbeckia. This is called great coneflower. It's a native plant to the northeastern United States and New Jersey. And this is what it looks like when it's blooming. Now this is just really starting to bloom, so that center section of the flower is just starting to get tall. But that will about double in height and turn dark brown soon. They are related to black-eyed Susan, but they're very tall. I think they're so cool. And these are balloon flowers. Balloon flowers are obviously called that because right before they open, they look like great big inflated balloons. And then they open to look like this. Balloon flowers are an edible native flower, and they take really well to being trimmed in around May. In mid-May, I would trim it back to like a third, take off a third of the plant, and then they stay nice and bushy, and you get a lot more blooms that way. If you don't trim them, this is what happens. So they get kind of tall and leggy. You only get a few blooms at the top. But if you trim them back in May, this is what you get instead. I think that's a good way to go. Now over here is where I'm working today. You can see that the elderberry is blooming and they smell so wonderful. There's these great big white umbels of tiny little flowers. They smell great, and the flowers are actually edible. They're followed by dark black berries that have wonderful medicinal properties. You have to cook them though. Don't eat elderberries raw. It'll give you a bellyache. And then we have some coneflower blooming too. What's happening over here is I have another elderberry, and this is it was a seedling that I moved from my other property, and it just never took off. I don't know if it's that spot specifically, or if because it's a seedling, it doesn't have the same characteristics as the parents. It was not a cutting that I rooted. This is either an Adams or a John's elderberry. I did move this. I know that it was a piece of a plant that I planted from Miller Nursery back in 2010. But this one showed up elsewhere in the yard. I figured the birds had planted it and I brought it over. Now, it does bloom kind of every other year. It's never gotten much bigger than this. So it's topping out at about my height, 5'7". So down it goes. I don't need it here. Obviously, the elderberry that is doing well doesn't need a pollinator in order to produce fruit. I get fruit from it every year. So I'm going to take this down, and close by, I am going to put the new plant that I ordered from Etsy. This is from Fox River Nursery. This plant is a Carolina Allspice, and I got the idea to plant this because number one, it's native to the Northeast. Number two, you can use the bark as a substitute for cinnamon in the kitchen. Park Rose Permaculture. She talked about this plant fairly recently. I decided to plant it. She did mention people who consume this may have side effects related to cardiac trouble, so please be careful and do your research before you consume the bark of that plant. But it is a gorgeous plant that flowers. I believe the advisory was to put it in part shade. Now, right now, this looks like a very sunny area, and it kind of is for a better part of the day, but it is on the north side of the property, and the food forest is still fairly young. So though this is a dwarf apple tree and this is a high bush cranberry, they're still fairly small. I think as the food forest matures, the conditions will be right for this plant over on this side of the yard. So it is in the magnolia family, and it has beautiful burgundy flowers, so you can see what I'll be expecting sometime soon. I don't know how fast it's going to grow. You can see what will be right next to it is a gummy berry, and that's been in the ground for a couple of years now. I think this is the third year for the gummy berry, and this is the other gummy berry, both from One Green World. So I am going to put it in this spot. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with the soil here. I should probably do a soil test, but I'm not going to. I'm going to amend the soil with some really wonderful compost, clear some of the garlic that's ready to harvest out of the way. It is July 4th weekend. Happy 4th of July, everybody. That's when you harvest garlic. So I'm going to be harvesting the garlic in the yard and putting in this Carolina allspice plant. Follow along with me. Please subscribe to the channel and follow me for my garden updates. I'll show you how it's doing throughout the season. So that's what we have. Just a simple stick coming out of the ground now, but shortly it should leaf out. I'm going to take good care of it, keep it well watered for the first season, and we will have Carolina allspice, another native edible plant to add to the food forest here in Ocean County, New Jersey, Zone 7A. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do you grow Carolina allspice? Have you tasted it? Because I've seen the flowers on the internet, and I think that they're beautiful, but I haven't tasted it yet. I don't really care what it tastes like. I just thought the flowers were charming, and I wanted to add it to the food forest. Tell me what you love about this plant, and if you like to plant native edibles too. Please subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.